Welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we talk about the things weighing on our minds. I'm Dan Oliverio, and I like unusual ice cream.
How unusual?
They have a new flavor at Salt and Straw, the cherry and bone marrow ice cream.
Oh, that's true. I have had that. It tastes like meat.
It's delicious ice cream meat.
I'm Trevor Keyson, and I like all flavors of ice cream. I mean, not like every flavor, but I don't only like unusual
Your equal
flavors.
opportunity.
Yes.
You don't want to put down a flavor.
Well, I'm Michael, and I'm a chaser, and I like delicious homemade ice cream that my little sister makes all the time because she made a black sesame ice cream or frozen custard.
That was so delicious.
Yes,
It
that was
was.
amazing.
It was mixed with a not mixed, but it was served with a mango sorbet. It was unbelievable.
I am Donald Marshall. I am a chubby guy living here in Hollywood, and I am ice cream. Take a lick.
He was ice cream the whole time.
That does explain the melting.
Did Dan say he was a chaser? Because I didn't say I'm fat, but that's something.
Yes.
Wait, you're fat?
If someone's listening to this for the first time, I am very fat.
Just so you know, these are important things when you're listening to our voices.
And I like it.
So our episode today, it's been kind of a crazy 2 weeks as far as the podcast goes, and we've gotten a little intense and a little,
I think it's just been
into
crazy
these
in the world.
In the world and in my life and everyone's life. And so we wanted to lighten things up a little bit this week and do something a little more sort of frothy and maybe a callback to our Valentine's episode, getting into some of our stories and not just y'all's stories. But before that, we had kind of a cool moment in pop culture with a guy who, well, Trevor, do you want to set this up?
Yes. So I am not like a sports person at all. At all.
Ever?
And he's more of a sports person than I am.
Yeah.
Somehow.
No, but I was seeing this video go around Twitter of this guy, Thomas Snacks Lee at Jackson State, who was named Player of the Week.
Snacks in quotes as his nickname.
His nickname is Snacks because he's like a team manager.
He's the manager, yeah.
And he always brings snacks for everyone, so they call him Snacks, which is like the most kind of like athlete, like straight boy thing I can think of. Is like, oh, your nickname is Snacks because you
bring snacks.
And it's like, oh, like Socks came up with that nickname. He's Socks because he always wears socks.
So he is the manager of this team. He's always around, and they had this game come up where they subbed him in and actually put him on the court to play. Sorry, did you mention it was basketball? I can't remember.
I think I said basketball.
Okay. They subbed him in at the very end of the game. They were down a few points. And sorry, Dan, let me explain this to you. So in basketball.
No, I didn't get the sub. I don't understand why you would do that if you were also down a few points.
I think there was an injury or something.
I think there was. The story I read didn't give context for why they subbed him in. But all I remember reading was that people, like the crowd went nuts for it. Like everyone was super into the idea.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they needed a 3-pointer to win. So like there's like a horseshoe shaped line on the court where if you shoot from behind the line from farther away, then you score 3 points instead of 2. So that
and he got all
he's looking at me like I'm a nut.
I'm still stuck on a line that's a horseshoe.
He got all the touchdowns.
He got all the full point being that Snacks actually has a really good 3-point shot. And I think that whether or not they needed to make the substitution, they knew that they needed to make a 3-pointer. And so they got him the ball and he takes a shot like with 30 seconds left of the game and he nails it and the whole crowd goes crazy and they're all cheering for him.
We also forgot to kind of lead with the fact that Snacks is like 6 feet tall and I think like 350 pounds. So he's,
I was going to say, why are we talking about
He's
this?
short for a basketball player. I was like, oh, he's so short. And then I saw him like, oh no, he's actually 6 feet, but it's just everyone else is really tall because it's basketball.
Yeah. And so, I mean, typically, an athletic basketball player would be very, very thin because you have to be tall, but you also have to be able to move very fast. So normally, like maybe they have some muscle, but usually they're pretty beanpole shaped. So the fact that this big fat guy came onto the court and was an athletic hero was really, really awesome. Okay. And everyone was cheering for him. And the article put it, at least as far as I was reading, like nothing about it was like, this big fat kid like shocked everyone being an athlete. It was just like, here's this really heartwarming story about a guy who came out and got to be the hero and he just happened to be fat.
What's it time for, Trevor?
It's Lizzo Watch 2020. So there's actually kind of two things this week. So Lizzo was on the cover of Glamour Mexico.
Oh.
In a stunning yellow getup with a
Oh, wow.
a really cool kind of
Great picture.
metallic fringe curtain, and since it's really beautiful, colorful, sexy, but also what really caught my attention was, so Lizzo is kind of been MIA from social media because she's kind of done with it, but there was this great video of, I thought it was her and her sister, but it's her and her mom dancing in their bathrobes, and I was just so like,
Oh my God.
That's adorable.
I was just shocked. I'm like, damn, like she looks really good. I thought it was her sister.
I mean, you know what they say. I'm not going to say it, but you know what they say.
You know,
That's not your saying.
Yeah, so that's just a little Lizzo watch.
Yeah, Lizzo.
Yay. I found something interesting on the internet this week. So apparently we have far more influence in the world than we ever guessed.
That can't be true.
And who's we? I mean, the four of us in this room?
Yes. Come on. The Big Fat Gay Podcast. We are now movers and shakers in the fashion world.
Oh,
Are we?
So some of you who've been listening to the show for quite some time may remember we've referenced the Wonder Sauna hot pants on multiple occasions.
As I should.
Well,
are they finally available in my size?
well, funny you should ask.
You mean Jumbo Petite?
No.
Is this fashion designer from India? Apologies
I know
to
what
our
this
Indian
is.
listeners. Harik Krishnan is now designing a line of inflatable latex pants for high fashion couture.
Oh my God.
I don't think that's what they're for.
She's got a hot air balloon around her knees.
Yeah. Now, he has a whole line of these inflatable latex pants.
I saw these
that are
They're,
designed
bizarre.
specifically to highlight and present your body in disproportionate shapes. So one highlights your calves, one does your thighs, one does your butt, one does like 3 different versions of your butt.
That's kind of fun.
I want to know if there's a jacket version of this for like really big arms or something. Or
It's kind of
forearms.
it's kind of fun to make fun of like perfect proportion.
I think that's awesome, especially with the stripes.
So clearly, and if you want to see the things that we are marveling at, you can find them on our website.
Yes.
Throw some pictures up.
But these are magnificent, and it is thanks to
Yes, I
our
was gonna say-
reminding the world
Well, clearly.
of the Wonder Sauna hot pants that we can now
We
bring this to the
inspired
world
this
of high
designer
I
a
thought-
month ago, and he designed an entire line.
I'm cranking them out. Just latex in this little sewing machine, like.
All right, so shall we move on
Yeah.
to our main topic
So the
today?
main topic this week is dating do's and don'ts.
Specifically based on our own personal experience.
So
So,
you wanna
Trevor, would you like to kick us off?
I was going to say, so Michael, do you want to kick us off? My do is, so something like for a date, pick something unusual. Like I am not I have been on my fair share of movie makeout dates, which is, fine, especially, like when I saw Spider-Man 3 on a date. So that made it worthwhile.
The date or the movie?
The movie.
Yeah.
But no, some of the best dates I've been on have been, I went to school in Chicago. I'm from Chicago, so like there's a ton of amazing museums there. And I think there's something nice about, there's always conversation because there's always something interesting. And then there's also kind of little moments to kind of like get, snuggly close up. I don't know, like
That's so chaste.
watching the puffer fish and it's kind of like
Like an aquarium.
closing up. Yeah.
If you go to an aquarium, yeah.
Or,
Aquariums are great too because they're all mood lighting.
Yeah.
Like it's all sort of
Even like a lot of museums, like the Natural History Museum in New York is kind of like dark, but these lit dioramas of
cavemen.
cavemen and
Hey, look what they're doing.
I don't know if this says something about me, but like that sounds like an amazing date to me. I would
Yeah.
love
Yeah,
exactly.
to go to. I would love to go to a natural history museum on a date.
and also
All right,
also
listeners.
keep in mind so
Planetarium.
to the chasers, museums can also be a lot of walking, but they also usually have little benches, so there are
Well, I was going to say, don't you think it might be a good idea to not surprise your date with something unusual?
No, but I don't think,
Like maybe
I think that's kind
coordinate?
of hard to do. Like obviously communicate, don't like say, okay, I got a surprise for you. And then like take someone to,
The petting zoo,
yeah. Or,
which I think would be a great date, but only if you both think it's a
yeah.
great date.
And I actually did,
Well, what about when you and Michael went to see the ostriches?
That
Yes.
was really, really fun. Well, we had 2 plans. We were gonna go.
Yeah.
We were gonna go feed the emus, right? And we were also going to try and go pet the miniature ponies.
Aw.
Yes.
And we got to do one and not the other.
We got to check my ostriches, which was one of the Throwback Thursday posts. But we also went to Solvang, California, which is this little.
It's like a Dutch
Swedish?
town.
Yeah, Dutch town.
And
Danish, yeah.
Is it
Danish.
Danish? Yeah. And it's just this like little oasis in the middle of the mountains in like middle California. And you can just go out there and get like candies that are made by people in houses that have like the thatched roofs and everything. And it's just sort of
a lot of butter cookies.
A lot of yeah.
I was
Although
told
actually-
it feels like when you turn a corner, there feels like there should be a gingerbread house waiting for you.
And
Yeah.
there is.
There probably is.
I was just thinking of this because this is weird. I found out a guy I went on like dated. I went on several dates with him in college. Died.
Oh,
Well, hold on. Let's set this up.
so I was
not
getting
only did he
dark
die,
fast.
how did you discover this?
I was thinking about this episode and I was like, I haven't seen, like, he hasn't been on Facebook. He's kind of disappeared from social media. So I Googled him.
And what was
when I was,
you told
as I was
me-
typing his name, I was like, oh, it would be weird if he was dead. Because whenever I Google someone, that is always my thing of like, oh my God, like, I hope they're not dead.
And then what's the very first search result?
His obituary. We had a date where he kind of Tom Sawyered me.
What does that mean?
Which means, so he had moved into a new place. He's like, oh, like, come over and see my new place. And I'm like, okay, like, this is going to be a fun, sexy time. And I show up and he hands me a paintbrush and he's like, help me paint my new place.
Oh, it was literally painting.
Yes.
It was literally whitewashing.
Yes. And it was horrible. And it was Chicago in the summertime. So it was like humid.
Who
And
does that?
It was this basement apartment too. So it, like
people who need their apartment painted.
I guess so.
So then we're done. I'm just exhausted. I'm like, okay, like, I'm going to go home. And then he basically jumps me.
Oh.
And, you know, Chicago in the summer is very humid. So, like, I'm sweaty. It's humid.
And I would imagine the paint stank because it's not
smells
drying.
like paint.
Yeah.
And he is just, like, tearing my clothes off. And it was kind of hot, but also just terrible. So don't, Tom, this is, well, no, I'm not going to say, this isn't my don't, but, like, unusual dates, but not
not
Tom
tricking
Sawyer-ing
your
someone.
date into
We are
doing
not
work
your
for you.
free labor.
Yes.
Well, and all that can be avoided if you simply discuss this unusual date before
Yes.
you get there.
That is true. That is
Yes.
true. I know everyone likes the romance of like surprising somebody with the perfect date, but the truth is at worst, it can go horribly, like Trevor has illustrated, and at best, your date might be like, "Wow, that was really great. That was a fun thing." Like,
I
but
love
you can
painting
still,
your apartment.
yeah, but like you can still get that "Wow, that was really great" if you talk about it first
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
go like and decide to do something together. Because the point is the experience, not the fact that you somehow guessed what somebody was magically going to be into.
So, Michael,
So
what's your don't?
My don't is. I'm realizing tonally we might not all be on the same page here. Trevor's was really fun and frothy. My don't is something that, first of all, I have to say pulls from personal experience. And so when I say this, it's not like I'm trying to lecture. It's just that I am trying to practice what I preach. But don't, if you have a great first date and you have an even better second date, don't assume that you are going to get married. Like, don't
rush into things.
yeah, like don't rush into things. Like, look, it's great to be like excited and into it and into a person and like really just go full in. Like, that's fine. But I have historically had the tendency to be really into somebody and then we're just together forever after that. And then however long it lasts is however long it lasts. But I guess the don't is more, don't set this expectation for yourself that the person is either perfect for you or not the right guy. Like, there's also middle ground in there somewhere. There's also somebody who could be perfect for right now or like a great time or somebody who you can have amazing experiences with, but you're not necessarily going to be, you know, getting married 3 years from now or 3 months or 3 weeks or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, you can have a great time with somebody and it doesn't have to have all of this pressure. It's like the guy that wrote in for a Valentine's episode and was like, well, I'm trying to figure out who's going to be, you know, the better person to get married to, basically is what he's saying.
yeah.
And it's like, well, but you're thinking about it backwards. Like, focus on the date now and be communicative and like maybe it'll be amazing for the next 3 months or whatever. Trevor, why are you laughing at me?
This is completely unrelated. I'm not gonna. I'm remembering last night when I said down to clown in Brown Town. We were talking about butts.
How do I follow that?
Continue.
How do I continue?
I don't even
this?
know what's Browntown.
It's
Oh, Dan.
we were talking about
Chocolate
He's so pretty.
Oh, Dan.
we were talking about eating ass and like Salt and Straw having ass flavored ice cream.
Which they don't.
No,
But maybe they should.
Anyway,
And
don't
then the
rush into
idea
the-
of like what the process would be to achieve that kind
It's
of
going to
flavor.
look like chocolate. That's all I
Like
got
you,
to say.
you have somebody sit in the anyway. So sorry, I didn't bring this up. Trevor did.
no, I
I'm
was just thinking, it was just echoing in my mind.
Why was it echoing in your mind?
Because it's a big space in there.
There's a lot of room for activities.
Yes. So don't go in with the expectation that you're going to be clowning in Browntown for the rest of your life. Done. Follow that one.
No.
Well played.
dude.
Well played, sir.
So originally when I thought of this, I was thinking that this was going to be advice for chasers. But
it can.
the
I mean,
it
more-
can be.
But the more I've thought about it, I think this is actually advice for all of our listener base. Here's a date that I loved. It was a second date with a guy. We met up at the video arcade on Vermont, and we hung out there. We played some video games, and we played Dance Dance Revolution together. Right?
Sorry, for the listeners like Dan who don't know what this is. Dance Dance Revolution is a video game, but it's based with a mat on the ground where you step on different points in the mat, and it's kind of like dancing.
I think I might have known that.
Yeah.
Well, for the listeners who didn't know.
Another date I had with a guy, and it was wonderful. I had so much fun, and we talked afterwards, and everything felt very light and easy to communicate after that. I had a similar experience playing mini golf with a guy as a first date, actually. Pursue the innocent dates you weren't able to when you were in high school.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Take the chance now to do the things that you got to see everyone else do, and maybe you believed wasn't meant for you.
And I think what really worked about those two dates you mentioned is that they don't require a performance of conversation.
Yeah.
It's not an interview.
Yeah.
It's mini golf. It's bowling. It's whatever,
And the
whatever.
conversation comes easily because there's a social lubricant.
There's a
there.
mediating activity.
I feel like in a lot of our society, a lot of our dates are very intent on getting to adult time very quickly.
I mean,
Getting ready to clown.
Yes, in Browntown. It doesn't have to be that way, and you can take the time now to do the things you wished you did then, and it can be very satisfying. I know for a lot of chubby guys who've been chubby all the time, like a lot of us weren't very sexually active in high school. We didn't date a lot. My assumption first was a lot of chasers did, but the more I'm learning about that, the more I'm starting to figure out that they maybe thought they weren't sexual beings at that age and figured that stuff out later.
Yep, that was me. I had no idea.
Yeah, same.
You know? So yeah, take the time to be the teen you didn't get a chance to be the first time around.
I like that. And have fun and play.
So I had this date. We're going out to dinner, and it's all about the conversation, which, as a verbal person, I'm very comfortable with that. And apparently, so was he. And he was talking, and he was talking, and he was talking. And at one point, I literally had to interrupt him. At one point, I had to say, "Excuse me, do you actually realize that you have talked for 35 minutes?
Oh God.
Whoa.
You have not asked me one question. You don't even seem interested that I'm over here. It's kind of like the radio's on. That's what it's like on my point of view, from my side of the table, as I'm listening to the radio."
Right.
And he was sort of shocked that I would say that. So my don't is, you don't have to run the date. And I don't know if he was nervous. I don't know if he felt like he had to entertain me. But a lot of times there's a sense, you go on a date with someone and there's a sense that they're not really interested in you. They're interested in having an audience.
Yeah, I get that.
And if you're the person who has that in mind, check in with the other person. Don't feel like you got to run the date. Don't feel like your job is to entertain them so they have a good time, so they take you home, or however that's going to go in your head. Believe me, I talk. Everybody knows I talk. But at some point I'll go like, okay, I've been talking a long time. Tell me about you, or I'll ask something like, what's important to you in your life right now?
Sure.
What's going on with you?
And I think that it's also really important to, like, if, for instance, the reason that he was talking so much was because he was nervous, or, maybe it's just sort of a tick, because some people, that is a thing for some people. Maybe just recognizing that and acknowledging it out loud. Like, again, going back to that idea of authenticity, like, you know, sorry, I know I've been talking a lot. I'm a little nervous. And then now we have a moment to like, for Dan, for you to be like, it's okay. Like, that's okay. Now, like, we can start from here and I'm fine because I'm a little nervous too. And like, but let's go with that. And now you've got a dialogue going and you've connected over something instead of just kind of.
So what do you suggest doing when you have the opposite problem, when you cannot get the other person to talk? Because I'm generally the quiet one, and I've had dates where the other person will not talk, and then I'm kind of doing that, and it's like, I hate this, and I'm just trying to like ask them questions or get them to open up, and they're not doing it.
To me, there is no surer sign of lack of interest is somebody just being monosyllabic. Just yes, no.
LOL.
Yes, and that's true of texts too. If I'm texting someone and they're sending me back one word at a time, I'm like, nope, fuck this, I'm out. You know?
It's true.
Well, usually what I'll do in that situation is I know there's something they do care about, but it may not be something they're comfortable talking about. I've had dates that started that way, but I've never had a date that ended that way. And sometimes in the text realm, a lot of times you don't get something back from someone because you've given them nothing to respond to. I mean, not you specifically, but you know, like somebody will say, hey, how's it going? I personally hate, hey, how's it going? Because it sounds like a request that they be entertained.
Okay.
I don't mind that so much for myself because to me, it's a tap on the shoulder of like, hey, you open to talk? And that's all. And I'm fine saying what I am doing at that moment. And that's a conversational hook, you know?
Yeah, that's not how I experience it.
Okay.
So, Trevor, you have our next.
Yes.
We're just have to duplicate 2 don'ts in a row just to keep the flow going.
I didn't count the people in the room.
I miscounted the men.
No, it's fine. It means that we end on a do.
Yes.
A positive moment.
Once again, accentuating the positive.
Yes.
So my don't, I referenced in the Valentine's Day episode, and someone, even though I said it wasn't Michael, someone still thought it was Michael.
God. Why? Okay.
No. So my don't is do not use any kind of like, don't do the whole whipped cream, chocolate sauce, caramel sauce, body topping thing.
You might want to elaborate.
Why would that? How could that possibly present an issue?
I had a gentleman caller who really
was not me.
Who was not Michael, who really, really wanted to do the whole like, I want, whipped cream, and it was supposed to be whipped cream and chocolate sauce,
and they want to lick it off or something like that.
yes,
right? Okay.
or licking it off each other. And I was like, sure, like, it didn't sound great, especially like Hershey syrup isn't great, but it's like, okay, like let's do this. And
Should have used Bosco's.
Bosco's is the preferred chocolate body topping of Big Fat Gay Podcast.
I think we just found our newest sponsor.
Yeah. But so he shows up, he swung by a little bodega, and it's like, oh, well, they didn't have Hershey syrup or whipped cream. So I got Smucker's caramel flavored sundae topping,
Which is like just all of the artificial fakeness.
yes.
It's like spackle made with sugar.
And
Well,
it is,
just you wait.
so there must be something about the formula of Smucker's caramel sundae topping where it is formulated to be at a lower temperature, because the second it came into contact with a body temperature skin, it turned to adhesive. And it was like, the tongue licking it up, but it's like your tongue is also kind of sticking then to the body, and it's like, oh, this isn't working, and we're trying to wash it off, and it's still just staying this like
It's still not washing away.
adhesive.
I got to say, I have been in the position of saying no to these requests very often.
Yes.
And especially having body hair, another way that goes wrong. You don't want goop in your chest hair. There's a comedian who said it very well when he said, anyone who wants to cover you in honey and lick it off has never done that. Ever. Because they would never want to do it again.
And there are some actual safety concerns in that latex interacts in strange ways with various substances you might want to put on your body.
Latex?
Like latex condoms, that sort of thing.
Oh.
So if you're not buying a flavored condom and you want to add some strawberry jam to give it some flavor, latex melts. I have heard.
Wade, done.
What? Strawberry jam is going to melt a latex condom?
I have heard.
He's
had a friend in
overemphasizing
college.
this herd part. I don't know.
I had a friend in college who was so excited that her boyfriend was coming, and well, so to speak. And the next day, I see her; she's looking very down at the mouth, so to speak. And all she had to say was like, "Do not use strawberry jam on latex."
I wonder if it had like peanut butter or something, some sort of natural oil or fat that would have. Anyway,
I mean, were they going for a PBJ kind of thing, or
I was not going to ask for that many details.
Were they down to clown and PBJ test?
that's why I married him.
oh god?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
there's no topping that one.
so
speak.
don't experiment with food toppings sexually unless you have tested them thoroughly beforehand.
I think just don't.
Or just don't.
Just don't.
Anything with sugar, like it's just going to get sticky and uncomfortable.
Or
and
any dairy product.
You know,
And like-
I really don't think this is we're going to be able to convince someone not to do it without trying it themselves if they want to do it.
I mean, go try it.
but
I
see,
guess.
what I'm
but-
afraid of
Treat it like carpet cleaner. Like put it on a small section of your body.
No, but that's fine. See, that's the easy thing. If they just put if they put a drop of honey on their forearm and lick it off, they're going to go, hey, that works great. And that's not what it is.
But if they do it with Smucker's caramel Insta Hard Sundae topping, they may learn
Smuckers is going
differently.
to come for us.
Sucker's like, no, we'll create a new product. It'll be better. It'll make everything
designed to be at body temperature.
Smuckers, if you do that, we get 10% of every sale.
Yeah.
well, until they make Smucker's body wash, I think we're fine.
Well, yeah, I don't have anything.
Why do you smell like boysenberry?
No, that's another one that happened to a guy. A friend of mine said that, how fun it would be to get covered in whipped cream, and it was it was right before a flight, and the sex ran long, and he didn't shower.
No.
And he smelled of rotting milk, and he thought he'd wiped it all off. He sponged, but he smelled of rotting milk halfway across the country.
Oh, God.
He couldn't stand the smell of himself. I mean, the poor passengers around him.
Yeah.
I think I flew
So
with him.
many poor decisions in this 30-second interval.
But you know where it started, Michael? It started with the whipped cream.
I agree. Haven't done it myself, but I've had people want to do that. And I'm just like, why? I don't get the appeal. Maybe there's. I cop to the fact that there are plenty of little interests and kinks and things that people are into that I am not, but I really don't get the appeal. I don't get the kink factor of that. What is the we're gonna get?
Especially if it's a hairy dude. I just got to say, especially if it's a hairy dude. It's just you're going to have a mouthful of hair and caramel. This does not sound appealing to anyone.
Well, it's the new salted caramel is hairy caramel.
Is that a salt and straw flavor?
Yes.
It comes with a little mower.
Get half and half of the hairy caramel and Brown Town.
Yes. This month we have ass and hairy caramel. So, Michael, what's your due?
What's your due?
I don't have. I'm. Trevor should always go last for these things. So my due is built out of a specific story of somebody that I know is not listening, so I don't feel bad saying it. But way back when I first moved to LA, I knew about Bigger City and I knew about other, I don't think apps were really around at the time, but other dating sites. But I was also on OkCupid at the time, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, is just a civilian dating website. And a guy hit me up on OkCupid and I looked at his picture and it was his face and he was smiling. It was really cute. And I was like, okay, this sounds like somebody I could be into. And we talked a little bit and everything was fine. So we set up a date and I show up and immediately realize my mistake because he looks like me. He looks like me in the sense that he was not like Trevor or Don.
I mean, he wasn't fat.
Yes.
No, but he had a fat face.
He had a fat face. And so he was really cute and cherubic from the neck up. And because we met on a civilian site where it's not this established thing where you're a chub, I'm a chaser, there was no way to just know walking in, this is not going to work.
This is
I've had those conversations with dates where
it's a thing. And
this is fat fishing.
Please don't fat fish. So my do is do like I say, not like I do, which is to learn how to say no which is for a long time in my life, and this isn't as much of an issue anymore, but for a long time, I did not have the ability to say no to somebody or to say, like, actually, I don't think this is going to work, or disappoint somebody, whatever the context, especially in dating.
I have so been there, yes.
And so I went on a date with this guy, and I was like in this mode of like, well, I guess I got to do this. And so like had a bunch of drinks and like went, and he was a perfectly lovely guy. There's nothing wrong with the guy himself. It was just like, because I didn't have the ability to communicate properly, it was just like a not good experience.
Well, and it also has that conversational element of like, well, the problem is you're just not fat enough. I mean,
how do you say that?
How do you say that?
I have been told that point blank on a date.
Yeah, you have.
And it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know how to take this. Like, there's a lot of weird emotions going on right now.
It's
you know what I've sometimes said? I've said, you're not my type, but trust me, you're going to be glad about that.
That's probably the gentlest way you can put it.
I mean, if I'm backed into that corner.
Yeah, if you get that far, which, I mean, look.
Yeah, which you shouldn't have to get that far.
You shouldn't have to get that far. And it's happened. And again, this was years ago, and I like to think I've gotten better about it. But yeah, like that is something that you have to kind of keep an eye on if you're somebody like me who just, wants to kind of keep everything positive and moving forward. And the thing is, I genuinely like most people when I meet them, at least as I'm getting to know them. And so it's never like, oh, I'm in a room with like a total psychopath and I don't know how to say, like, yeah, I'll walk out of that room. Like, that's obvious. But
when the guy's nice and it's not his fault.
Yeah. Like it becomes very hard for me to just like crush somebody. Even if I don't know that's the reaction, that's what I'm expecting because I'm.
Well, I'll tell you this, for the people who feel like that and who will go on that first date and then the guy's like, oh, that went really well. Let's have a second date. And it gets worse. Believe me, if you think you're crushing him on the first date, it is not nearly as bad as when you start ghosting him or crush him on the fifth date.
Yeah. And I will say to past Michael's credit, I did actually tell him, like, there was no second date, and I wrote him. I said, I'm sorry, like, this is the deal. Like, I actually was honest with him. And,
brilliant.
Like, mostly because my conscience was like, you have to, like, you can't just
disappear.
Well, which is not.
And ghosting is far more common now than I think it has ever been. But it will come back to haunt you because I had a terrible date in college and the guy was like, bad date. I'm like, this is just so, once again, it was okay Cupid. It was, except I knew I'm like, he's probably not my type. I went on the date anyway. And then it was a terrible date. And then at the end of the date, he's like, when can we do this again?
Ouch.
Oh.
And I did not do the grown up thing and be like, oh, this, I don't think we're looking for the same thing. I ghosted him. And then like a year later, I walk into one of my classes, a very small class. There was 6 of us and he was one of the 6 people.
Oh boy.
Hello.
And it was terrible.
And can I just say, I've had guys thank me for telling them no. Mm-hmm. I mean, they tended to be older guys who'd been around and who'd experienced ghosting after ghosting after ghosting. And if you're of my generation, that's just not how you conduct business because we didn't grow up in the internet age.
I actually find that rude.
Yes,
imagine that.
So no, I mean, I would tell this guy no, and I wrote him back, and I said, this is this, blah, 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 and I didn't just say no, goodbye, but. The point is, he said, thank you for telling me no. Those were his exact words. He said, I'm so sick of guys just disappearing.
Yeah.
So can you sum up your advice in one sentence to give it a button?
Know how to say no.
Good.
And
to pair with that, also know how to hear no. That's
fair.
important too.
That's fair.
So originally I was going to call my piece of advice, don't be an emotional sponge. But thanks to a meme going around to the internet right now, I'm going to rephrase that to don't be an emotional bottom.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
So I know by default I am a caretaker personality type, right? It's something I actually actively have to fight against in my life. And I don't think that's uncommon in our community.
No,
a lot of us are caretakers. Mm-hmm. So there's a tendency to feel like you're doing the right thing if you sit and listen to their stress and their pain and their angst, and that will go on for hours. And suddenly you realize, like Dan said earlier, they have been talking about their angst forever, and you're not entirely sure if they know your last name. I have been that guy way too often. And that the only reason why that happened was because I let it happen. Be like Dan, say like you're talking a lot about yourself, right?
Well, and I should say, I think it came out that strong when I did it because I had been listening for 35 minutes.
Yeah. But I mean, that's important. Like you can't deny who you are. If you're a listener, you're going to listen, but pay attention to the signs. If they're not listening to you, if they're not actively trying to find out something about you, then you're a freaking
an accessory.
You're an accessory to their existence.
Your tiny purse.
Tiny Hershey kiss purse.
And now also be aware that sometimes people just talk like that when they're nervous, right? And that's acceptable. But it may be up to you to step out and start putting yourself out into the conversation a bit.
Exactly. And which can be hard. If you're used to listening, if the role that you're used to playing is listening and being supportive and offering advice, to bring up things about yourself and to actually put your own self into a conversation can be hard.
To offer an incentive for that. After you've listened to this person talk about so much of his stuff for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 35 minutes down, you may feel closer to them. Right? You may feel like you understand them a little better. You may feel that sort of intimacy. By not giving that effort to put yourself into the conversation and start offering pieces of yourself, you're denying them that sense of connection, which ultimately makes for a bad date on their side.
A way a friend of mine put it was, if you find that your friends regard you as one of their best friends, but you don't feel all that close to them, it's probably because you're absorbing all of their issues and they feel they can talk to you, and yet you don't feel like you can talk to them because you haven't been.
I have one or two platonic friends that are like, they're a lot of fun to hang out with, and they seem to feel very warm towards me. But ultimately, I come to the realization that they haven't listened to, they know nothing about me. So I am just a play date. I am a person they like to go to the movies with or have around for game days and that sort of thing. And that's fine as long as you understand that's
sort of
the relationship.
Yeah.
You know,
I was talking to, this is someone that Trevor and I know. I said, you're really not interested in other people, are you? Because it was one of these monologue conversations. I said, you're really not interested in other people, are you? He goes, oh my God, no.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, well, all right.
I mean, he owns it.
At least, he owns it. Yeah. And it was one of these, that's how the conversation goes. He holds a monologue and you're welcome to listen. So finally I said what I said, and he said, well, what do you want to talk about? And I said, well, I don't know. Maybe you might be interested in me. Is there something you want to ask me? I mean, maybe you read my profile, something you want to ask me. He goes, okay.
Oh my God.
What's your favorite color?
Oh,
what's your favorite color?
God.
And I'm like, okay. And then me being me, I redirected this into something else. I think most human beings would just get up and leave the table. Which kind of leads me into my do, which is I like an initial conversation starter online is often, hey, how's it going? And that's better than nothing, maybe. But as I said, I always receive it as this like, come entertain me, especially, or if we've been talking while somebody just is like texting me like, what you doing? I am doing a lot of things. I'm not going to describe my day to you right now. But my point is, my do is have something to say instead of how's it going on like let's say you're on a dating site and you want to get a guy's attention. Yeah, you could start with how's it going, but you could also start with a comment or a question like I like your profile, especially when you said blah blah blah. Give me something rather than just I am interested. Please respond to me.
Fair.
Or I think the worst is just hi.
Oh yeah.
I hate those.
Yeah, that's useless.
So my lead off, I'm debating if I am one of those hi people. My general lead off on a text for a profile response is, hi, how's life treating you? Right. And for me, I love that question because to me, it's like, it's an offer of like, tell me something about anything about yourself.
Do you know, I actually have a standard text that my phone knows and my computer knows for answering those questions. So when I type, and I actually don't care if people know this. If I type on my phone or on my computer, DWKB, my computer fills it in with doing well, keeping busy, because it is a stock response to a non-question.
Interesting. I have to say, I know somebody who this just reminds me of your responses because I think we respond to it differently. But an old friend of mine, we used to respond to the like if somebody would say, "Oh, have a good day," it was like the idea of being commanded to have a good day instead of taking it as a wish of like, have a nice day. It's a pleasantry, whatever. Like, but it is just a different way of looking at. I will say, I think you can do what Don does, and maybe some people respond like Dan, maybe some people won't.
To me,
but if you take Dan's advice and just start with something substantive, it will probably always be fine.
Well, because do I really have to wait for 6 exchanges to get to something substantive?
Well, to me, that the door is now open. If you said doing well, keeping busy, I would probably respond with something that I am doing or that's keeping me busy, because now the door's open. My version of what you do is when I get the hi, I just send hi back to them.
Oh, I just
balls in your court now.
That usually ends it. That's usually just like, okay, they're done.
I don't even do that. If someone says hi, I type back that waving emoji. It's not even worth characters.
I am not on apps, and so I don't do much of anything. I'm finding that, although actually interestingly, since the podcast started, some listeners have reached out, and I am finding it fun to actually talk to people, but it's usually because they, like Dan was saying, like they have something to say. Hey, like I thought this was interesting about the show, and then we can talk about that. Right. Or like, oh, I saw your post on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. And like you actually have like a conversation starter. I haven't gotten the whole hi thing in a long, long time because I haven't been on.
Well, and again, maybe it's growing up in real life dating world instead of online. But if somebody came up to you in line at Starbucks and said, "Hi,"
I'm just imagining
and just left it there,
I would respond with hi and then look straight ahead again,
and you'd be creeped out, right?
Oh my God.
Somebody just walks up to you. I feel like it's that thing that like you're standing in line and like you have your headphones in and you're waiting to order, and then somebody steps in line facing you
exactly
right in front of your face and goes hi, looking straight into your eyes,
or says how's it going, or how's life treating you, or it's hi what.
Though there is
hand wave emoji.
There is a context to this thing. One of my most mortifying memories in high school was being at an event with my father. We were waiting in line for like a lunch or something. And my dad suddenly just turns around and says to the people standing behind us, doing exactly what you're standing in front of them, eye to eye contact, like, we have a dog.
Out of why?
To this day, I don't know. But I just remember being so mortified.
Did he hear something about a dog?
There was no dog talk going on. I think it was utterly silent at the moment.
It was not even like responding to any kind of conversation.
He literally just turned around and said, I have a dog.
I wonder, like, maybe he felt self-conscious.
I like turtles.
But maybe
that's going to be my new approach on social apps. I have a dog.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the litmus test. Maybe the test is, if you were going up to a stranger at a cafe, you would probably not start with something as ambiguous as hi. You would comment on something. You would say, I like what you're wearing. Isn't that an interesting thing on the wall? I mean, you'd say something.
I think what Dan's getting at, which is how I would think about it if I were trying to reach out to somebody, is you can start with, hi, or how's it going, or how you doing, which is safe and fine. Or you can offer some kind of opinion, which is more quote unquote dangerous because you're risking a little bit by putting something out there that you've come up with.
Or a question.
And I feel like people maybe pull away from that because it's more specific, and you can elicit a response. But the point is elicit a response. And maybe if the person doesn't react well to what you say, like, oh, I like this part of your profile. Is that something, do you always go rock climbing and the person goes like, no, I haven't gone rock climbing since I broke my wrist. It's like, well, okay, fine. Then that person's kind of a dick, aren't they? Like, maybe you don't need to have that.
Well, or they go, no, not since I broke my wrist. And you go, wow, I'm sorry to hear that. And they go, yeah.
How did you break your wrist?
Exactly. Yeah. And
rock climbing.
And now you have a conversation instead of this 6-line detente.
I mean, the summary of this is you get back what you put out. Right?
Yeah.
Well, so in order to get you all ready for these now that you have the dating tips, we have a diet for you for all these hot new dates.
Are we sending people on a diet?
Yes.
Okay.
It is
I feel like this is sort of antithetical to how we operate.
It's the sexy pineapple diet.
Why?
Well, because usually people use unsexy pineapple.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to make me look like a pineapple. Like
it's a revolutionary new method of keeping slim and aerogenic. Let's go
with aerodynamic.
I know that I believe that this word was created for the diet.
I'm mostly confused at this point.
I believe that this word was created for the diet.
Maybe erogetic.
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 Hey, Don.
It's a very strange word.
Have you ever felt an erotic dick before?
How dare you?
Do it again.
It's deliciously easy. Try the sexy pineapple diet. Ingensten Hengler,
Okay, you're just making things up now.
Well, no,
who've become famous through their writings on male-female relationships, now apply the same understanding here. You can be sexier, slimmer, 2 days out of the week. You must eat only tasty, juicy pineapples.
Oh, I thought you were saying you could be
Okay.
sexier and slimmer 2 days out of every week.
No, well, I mean,
So these are Dutch people telling us how to eat pineapple to lose. Like, I'm not going to trust a Dutch person's opinions on pineapple.
and
said the
you-
Hawaiian.
you would be right to, because so this was a fad in the 70s.
Oh,
and then
what
the
a
book
shock.
went out of print, and there was someone from Vice who found it and went on the diet, and
Oh.
they lost 2 pounds.
2.
2 whole pounds?
but only 2 days out of every week.
But they also then were able to find one of the authors who was alive and 93 years old.
oh, so
damn.
it works.
And they basically admitted, like, yeah, I didn't put a lot of thought into the diet. I liked pineapple, so I thought it could be a nice thing. Pineapple's healthy. I liked having pineapple for dessert.
See, I was really hoping that they were going to talk about how pineapple has bromelain and bromelain breaks down protein. And no.
No. And the book is mostly just pictures of like women in swimsuits posing with pineapples. I mean, I have also heard, I had an ex who read this, that if you go on like basically a diet of pineapple, certain fluids will taste better.
I think that's a load of crap, by the way.
No, it's a load of semen.
It's not just semen.
I mean, I guess also
On
if you're
behalf
only
of the
eating
podcast,
pineapple,
I would like to apologize to you for the jokes you've been hearing recently.
but so go on, get some pineapple, go to town, go clown in Pineapple Town for 2 days, and give your date a tasty treat.
Or
pineapples are brown.
Because you too can be deliciously easy.
drink lots of coffee and asparagus and get the same result
Oh my.
No.
No, I just like
for a fun time.
I like that it's sexy. I like that it's pineapples. I like that the author admitted that it's basically a scam, and that she's 93 and admitting this. I'm like, whatever. I'm 93.
You have a tip also,
Oh, yeah.
don't you?
You wanna
a sexy
yes.
tip.
So our tip of the week is so you got the tips, the do's and don'ts. You've been on your pineapple diet. You're bringing your date home, but your
your caramel
mattress
sauce.
can't support yourself and or your date. So there is a mattress company that is specifically designing mattresses for larger people called Big Fig Mattress.
Big fig.
Big Fig. You wanna-
As in big figure, but fig.
Yes.
So the Big Fig mattress. We started by identifying common problems that people with bigger figures experience with their mattresses. Then we addressed each problem individually to find a solution that would ensure a quality and comfortable night's sleep for many years to come.
I'm kind of hot right now. My hand is wandering across the couch.
it's the bicep
Just
reach.
construct the bicep.
Trevor, should we
Yeah,
leave
we're gonna
or
go now. We'll just take the mics into the other room.
I need a moment.
but leave
so
the headphones?
the big thing about the Big Fig is they have a special foundation for the mattress,
It's like a box spring, but it's not. It's a
Yeah, it's-
platform and it's wooden slats.
and it's designed to support 5 times the weight of a traditional box spring foundation thing. So it says up to over 1,000. So it's over 1,000 pounds. It's like 1,200 pounds. I have broken my fair share of mattresses to the pleasure or dismay of the owner of the mattress. I also like that all of their ads actually feature fat people.
Oh, that's even better.
Which is just like nice.
Yeah.
Because it's like a lot of, even like big and tall stuff, the people wearing the clothes aren't really fat. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well,
They're like tall and tall.
yeah. But yeah, Big Fig.
If you want to clown around in Fig Town,
Yeah.
does that work?
It's bigfigmattress.com.
That sounds like a lesbian thing.
Pineapple. We've got figs, pineapples, caramel sauce. Ass.
They're also
I was with you till ass.
So
I gotta do my breaths to do the.
So I think that's our episode. Trevor, do you want to gear yourself up for the...
We're on Instagram and Twitter as @BigFatGayPod. We're on Facebook as the Big Fat Gay Podcast. And our website is www.bigfatgaypod.com. Thank you for all your lovely emails and reviews.
Yeah.
5-star reviews are always appreciated and
If
helpful.
you happen to listen on Apple Podcasts, it always helps us out, and it's also nice to hear what you think.
Yeah. And if you're listening in the car...
There's someone behind you.
And they're ready to go to Clown in Brown Town. So watch
Definitely
out.
look out.